Existence is naturally egoless. And what is truly your existence is always so. The nature of which never changes. It is absolute. By the term ego is meant the assumption, an entirely false assumption, of individuality, some particularization of existence or separation from this absolute existence. Sri Bhagavan said that the egoless state is the real state, the only real state that there is. Individuality, or the state of egotism, is an illusion and not real at all. Freedom from such illusion is known as liberation, or abidance in the self as the self. The individual is not, but you exist. And the nature of your existence, yourself, is entirely that existence, the self, or Brahman. And it is never otherwise. To imagine otherwise is merely ignorance, which too is not apart from this absolute existence, though there is no ignorance inherent in this absolute existence. For how could that which is of the nature of infinite consciousness or supreme knowledge contain ignorance? Or again, how could it be ignorant of itself? If one inquires, who is ignorant? Ignorance ceases. If one inquires, for whom is this illusion? The illusion ceases. The interior knowledge of the self, being's own knowledge of itself, transcendent of sensation and thought, is true knowledge, truly spiritual knowledge. Words and thoughts used to express this knowledge should not be regarded as the knowledge itself. The knowledge itself is of a non-objective character. It is not an it. Rather, in self-knowledge, in which you know yourself, you yourself are the knowledge. From the position or perspective of an individualized I, embodied and otherwise misidentified, how this can be so is most mysterious. Yet in your eyeless true nature, your existence as it is, which is absolute and one without a second, what is being indicated is self-evident. If there is the assumption of being an individual, where is the proof of it? That you exist is the fact. That you are a supposed individual, well, it is just a supposition. The body is not proof of individuality. After all, whose body is it? That is, the body supposedly belongs to an individual, meaning the individual is distinct from the body. What is the individual? What is your own sense of I, minus the misidentification with the body? Similarly, what is the nature of existence without misidentification with the senses? The herd of thoughts that seem to roam about is not proof of individuality or the ego. The thoughts seem to belong to someone. One says, my thoughts. The I of that my must be different than the thoughts. What remains of the sense of I if misidentification with any thought ceases? The further inward you proceed in this inquiry, the less there is to mark off the supposed individual. The more the sense of individuality vanishes, or may be said to merge with Brahman. The closer the look at the jiva, the more he turns out to be Shiva, and not a jiva at all. What in ignorance is mistaken to be a jiva or individual being is in truth only Brahman and not anything other. Illusion, delusion, ignorance of any kind, bondage, suffering, the samsara, birth, death, etc. All these are for the assumed individual, and never for the reality of the self. Abandon that false assumption of being an individualized existence, and what you truly are, your real being, remains as it naturally is, as it always is. And in this is found complete peace and happiness, freedom from illusion, freedom from bondage, etc. Whatever appears as a problem or an obstacle or a bondage is for someone. Without that someone, what problem could there be? If your heart's desire is the supreme spiritual knowledge, inquire within yourself and know your existence as it is. Again, you cannot be known as an object. The self is never a known or unknown object. This is transcendent knowledge, self-knowledge, in which the self that knows, the self that is known, and the nature of the knowledge itself are all one and the same thing. If you yearn for liberation from all of the imagined bondage, know yourself. If you yearn to devote yourself to God, know yourself. If you yearn to realize the significance of Brahman, know yourself. And if you understand that self-knowledge is the key to all of this, well then certainly know yourself. Inquire. Inquire, tracing out your own sense of existence, and find its non-individualized, infinite, eternal nature. And if while inquiring you have a question, please feel free to ask it.
Master, I had a question regarding the I know and I exist. So this is my direct experience. I know and I exist. Now the question is like, in deep sleep, there is existence, and pure knowledge in deep sleep. Now, what I'm trying to understand in my inquiry is like, does I know and I am borrow this existence from pure knowledge and pure existence? And then it gets individualized as I know, I am. And what it equates to is my existence and my objectless knowing is equivalent to pure existence and pure knowledge. So, and after that, mind, body, and senses come. Like after that, mind, thoughts, knower, knowing, known, and all that stuff. But since existence is pure, so this is how I should do the inquiry. Like
existence is pure, and existence is knowledge. Then comes all this other stuff, as you put it. What starts that?
thought.
And what starts thought? What's the root of thought?
Consciousness.
But consciousness is undifferentiated. So how does consciousness become a thought?
Out of its own nature, its own freedom.
It has freedom by its nature, but it is also forever unmodified. So how does consciousness become a thought if it is unmodified, never changes, and is undifferentiated?
To know itself.
It knows itself with that innate knowledge of existence. It has no need of another knowledge. There must be one with the barest definition who conceives of thought, who seems to have a distinct awareness of thought. The one you regard as yourself. Look at his nature. This was what was just being addressed. If he is individualized, I, even without any other definition, there will be some kind of this. If he is subtle, the this is thought. If he is regarded as the gross body, then the this is the objects of the world. How did it start? Did it start? The answer to this cannot be objective. It must be known immediately or directly within yourself. You can do so by inquiring into that I that has the thoughts and everything else. The thoughts do not proclaim their own reality. Someone says, these are. We may say roughly like this: there is pure consciousness, which is supreme knowledge, plus the objective notion, the idea of something objectively existing, comes out as a thought, a thing, etc. Not that such really is a transformation of the consciousness. This is just a way of describing the illusion. And the illusion rests entirely upon the single assumption of I, the one who perceives it, the one who says, this is so, or this appears. Again and again, look at him.
Master, on that notion, what about the gross objects, like the physical objects and subtle objects? Like, I know I am, so basically I am free. So in terms of inquiry, I'm saying, I know I am, so I am freedom itself. I am self-luminous, eternal. But what about the objects of the world? Like physical and subtle. Like, I want to know them. I want to know them. So, but since knowing is my nature, right? Objectless knowing is my nature. So I want to know them. So I run behind them. But the inquiry should be done in such a way that they should point to me, or they have to convert themselves to objectless knowledge, right? If they want to be known, because I am self-luminous.
How do you know about them?
By my senses.
All right. You know about them by your senses, and you have no experience whatsoever of them apart from the sensations.
Yes, I agree with that.
So you've never experienced an object, you've just experienced the sensations. How do you experience the sensations? How do you know about them?
Like, knowing does not belong to the senses, I'm sure.
All right, that is correct. They appear only in a waking state of mind. And apart from that waking state, you've never had an experience of the senses. So neither the sense objects nor the senses actually exist. You have absolutely no experience of them. There's just the thought of them in a given state of mind.
So from there onwards, like those thoughts which I see, images, sounds and other sense objects, where should I proceed from there?
Well, can you see that these are all thought? You don't think of an object, the thought is the object. You don't think of a sensation, the sensation is nothing more than a form of thought.
But they appear to me.
They appear projected by the mind into itself. There's no such thing as an external world. But why stop there? Who knows the mind?
I know I am the witness when the thoughts are there. Like, I witness it. But I'm always involved with the sense perception. I mean, the thoughts, like one thought, second thought, third thought, they just move in a train. I get lost, but then after some time I remember that, oh, I'm the witness, yeah. So,
do you have any experience of the thoughts apart from the knowledge of them? Then just as with the objects in the senses, you've actually never experienced a thought, just the knowledge of it. So much so is this the case, that you can't say there's an it, there's just the knowledge. If you dive deep into the nature of that knowledge, you'll find that there's no world, no senses, no mind at any time. Just one undifferentiated being consciousness bliss. The whole idea, the entire idea, I know it, is delusive. The objective portion is merely imagined. Knowledge belongs only to consciousness, and there is no I except absolute existence.
Master, so when the thought arises, I guess I say images, let's say images, which is form. Form is seeing. Seeing is like what I see, let's say. So those images, I should discard, I should ask, like, to whom does it belong?
Yes, if you inquire like that, to whom does it belong? To whom does it appear? The sense of reality and the sense of identity, both, will return to the rightful place.
and discard the objective part. Discard the objective part and only focus on the lights. Let's say they appear because of my light.
When you ask for whom is this, by the return of the sense of reality, the objectification is lost. For whom is this? For whom is the appearance? The idea that there is an appearance. For whom is this? Like this, pursue inwardly in a non-objective fashion. And if you still assume, well, it's there, find out who has that assumption. Everything rests on you. In relation to all, the consciousness which is yourself is referred to as the Sakshi or witness. It does not mean that there's actually things witnessed. It's a way of indicating the nature of consciousness as the perpetual, non-objective knower.
So Master, you're suggesting always try to be that knower.
You are that.
I mean in the inquiry.
Yes.
But I get diverted to the known all the time. So
The mixing up of the knower and the known is the characteristic of delusion. Remove the attributes of the known that are superimposed upon the knower. The reality belongs to the knower. The known has no independent existence. Think of the knower in terms of the known as a mind, as a compilation of senses, etc. And they'll appear to be objects, subtle and gross. Divest the knower of the superimposed known notions, and what is there? What is the knower when you cease to think of him in terms of the known? From the known, by the known I mean from the notion I down to the forms of the world. Negate all those notions, the known from the knower. Then say what is what.
thank you, Master.
The attempt to prove individuality is a great meditation. As soon as you posed the question, I went, yeah, how are we going to do this? And what it did was make me look at what do I actually consider an individual to be? And especially if I'm an individual. Who is that? And it's clearly not a body. The idea that an individual is represented by a body or either or the other way around makes me question even more, what am I talking about? What is this thing that seems to be surrounded by a whole bunch of forms, subtle and gross, that I'm saying is there? What if I actually look at what is there? There isn't anything there.
There is existence there.
That's all that's...
And the body also belongs only to that, is only that. Who is the thief that gets in between and claims I and the body, both?
Maharshi's definition, a spurious ghost-like entity. I love that because it's spurious because it's only there in one form in the waking state. It's in another form during the dream state, disappears in deep dreamless sleep. Ghost-like. So it brings me back to the question, has there ever been an individual? Was there ever one of those things? To answer the question falls apart really quickly because the idea of individuality is not a real thing. It's not. It's a very interesting concept because it's at the core of knowing oneself. And when you try to find yourself as an individual, you can't find anything that matches that concept. There isn't something that goes with it.
And the knowledge which illumines such inquiry is innately egoless. For it is the luminosity of pure consciousness.
So I'm asking myself, what you just described, do I experience myself as that? That's a great question to ask because you've really got to quickly figure out who is me in that process.
Exactly so.
If you go for the me part and set aside the other part, it resolves itself immediately.
So then always know the nature of I, first and foremost. And then we'll see if any doubts or differences remain. That which you are always. Reality will never change its nature. So if you're without individuality now, then you're without ego in the past and the future as well. This dissolves the delusive notion of an unrealized being entirely. It also eliminates the notion of a realized being. There is just being, which is realization. And for that, there is no unrealized state.
I do have the direct experience of what you're talking about when I consider what has always been there, unchanging, always silent. That's the one thing that I actually know. And I've always known that. I've never lost track of that.
The knowledge of existence is as perpetual as the existence itself. If it were otherwise, it would not be eternal, so it would be tenuous. What begins has an end. What appears disappears. What is born dies. What is created is destroyed. But real being, which is the knowledge, is without beginning, and so without an end. It belongs to no one, though it is everyone. In that, the idea, I do not know, does not arise. Consequently, the idea, I do know, also does not arise.
Looking in my experience of existence, all that I see there is I am. And that's really it.
Thank you, Master. I was enjoying all the different perspectives you were offering, which were all about one thing, of course, but I was noticing that the sort of illusory side, the negative, the ignorant, there were often colorations given to those ideas. But one that seemed really even easier to overcome was mistake. Like the sort of clean finality of knowledge, existence. If there should be imagined a mistake, then there's no effort or resistance that is involved in dropping it. And there's a sort of a timeless finality. Okay, there was a mistake, or it seemed so. Now there isn't, and that's it. It isn't like it's going to come back or drag on or...
It does not have a life of its own.
Well, all the positive terms are like that too. They're so final and clear. But sometimes there's an imagined inertia or, dreaminess to some of the, like an illusion can seem like a spell or something, which of course it can't be.
Well, if it seems that way, then one hasn't recognized a mistake as a mistake.
No, mistakes are clean though. I mean,
Once you see the false as false,
yeah.
it ceases from that moment on.
Yeah.
If it hasn't ceased for someone, he doesn't quite yet know that it's really false. He may have some initial belief it's unreal, but it still seems to be a bit real. Once he knows it's entirely unreal, there's no more affliction. Just as when a mistake is known as a mistake, thoroughly known as a mistake, you give up on that. You don't conjure that idea anymore. Our nature is truth itself. We love truth. If through discrimination we can see a mistake as a mistake, we will no longer pursue it because of our innate love of truth. It's just like that with the ego and all its attendant notions. Just an assumption, just a mistaken assumption. It has no inherent continuity or reality. It has no life of its own. So it's not truly fair to say one got rid of the ego and then it came back. It came back for whom? If they're still coming and going, such as in the stage of practice, deeper inquiry, further discrimination is called for. When the inquiry really strikes home, there is nothing more to be done.
So, you said that the mind creates the universe or the body, but somewhere there seems to be a case where the body has a genuine case. Say for instance we get hungry. It's not the mind which is created that, it's a genuine need of the body. So is that a genuine need?
There's nothing wrong with fulfilling such needs. However, we should not regard them as real or as the self. In a dream, your dream body becomes hungry. It's a genuine experience for the dream body. But we shouldn't mistake any of that as being real or being who we are. The non-dual truth is a matter of knowledge. There is no non-dual action of the body. The body having needs does not prove it's you, or prove it's that it exists, or that it is real. Simply do not regard the body as yourself. When it's hungry, feed it. When it's thirsty, give it something to drink. When it's tired, let it be rested. When it can be active, let it be active. Just don't regard any of that as yourself, and there'll be no bondage.
Because when I'm hungry, the awareness seems to go away. Sort of you dwell too much into that state where all you want is to just eat.
While that is going on, you still exist, obviously. You exist before, during, and after that experience. The existence did not become hungry. Your body became hungry. Cease to misidentify the one with the other. The consciousness that knows of the experience of hunger is not in itself hungry. Just your body is hungry for the time being. No matter what experience seems to occur for the body, you can keep your interior focus upon self-knowledge. Hunger will not interfere with the inquiry. Eating and satiation will not interfere with the inquiry either. Food is not an obstacle to self-realization. An absence of food also will not obstruct the realization. But you've got to turn inward and have your entire sense of identity rest in that which is bodiless and transcendent of the senses. Otherwise, various sensations such as hunger, will seem to sweep you away. In reality, something remains unmoving, unaffected, and that something is you, truly you. If you're spiritually hungry, you'll pass beyond the physical hunger.
Master, I had a question regarding the sleeping state. Like during the sleeping state, we just slide away from waking state to sleeping state. But there is no thought, it's uncaused. There is no experience. It's uncaused and it's spontaneous. In the morning when you wake up, there's waking up. So that is also uncaused. So in the waking state is just one perception, two perceptions. One is when I sleep and I wake up. Like it's like two thoughts, right? In between there is blank. Or it's not blank, but there is pure existence and pure consciousness. So my question is like, it is uncaused and it's spontaneous. And it doesn't belong to the mind because you just slide into it somehow. It's not a perception too. So do the activities in waking state also should be focused that way? It should be like, if the activities are uncaused and spontaneous, they give the best results. Because seeing the consciousness, the way it behaves, I am consciousness, but it goes on its own. It's like,
Identity is more important. Stand beyond the three states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. These states come and go. They are states of mind.
the states of mind.
Even if you don't think a thought in one state to bring on the next state, they are still states of mind. You are beyond all three states. You remain the same throughout all of them. Therefore, you are also beyond the content of those three states. The activities of day-to-day life are merely part of the waking state. You are not that. You are not in that. You are not the performer of action in that state. Whether something occurs with a lot of forethought, whether something seems to occur spontaneously, it makes no difference for one who is disidentified from the three states. If there is no misidentification, that is the best.
So would it be fair enough to start with being the witness of the three states? To start the inquiry with the witness?
Yes, you can start there, but it's not a place to end. As the Maharshi has pointed out, there is no witness in deep sleep. The idea of a witness is in the waking state. However, what that idea points to is a consciousness that is beyond all three states, that knows the three states, but is unknown by them. With that consciousness, remain identified. Then, how can you be a performer of action, spontaneous, caused, or otherwise? When we consider the causality apparently perceived, it is nothing more than a notion in the waking state of mind. What's the difference between spontaneous and premeditated, etc. The very idea of cause and effect is very questionable.
Thank you, Master.
There's a lot of cool meditations, and I think one of the ones you asked a question during your discourse. I don't remember the exact question, but essentially what kind of composes you or something. And I've kind of been meditating on this, like if I was squashed, what would be, or if you go to sleep or whatever, would you dream of a new body, a new world, new likes and dislikes, etc.? So in other words, what would be the tendencies? Would I gravitate towards true happiness, or would I gravitate to objective happiness? So it seems like that's what really meditation is kind of about. Clarifying myself versus something objective. And like yesterday, it was like totally, we talked about this before. I fast, and when I do stuff, physical stuff actually, when I'm fasting, is not an issue. The body can function and do something. The issue occurs when I have to do mental stuff, that I really have to think. And that actually becomes very difficult sometimes, because it's like, it's like I redline. I can't do it. So I get frustrated. But I was noticing that and kind of thinking that there's, I have to, it's not going to function too well. It's sort of like feeding the body pressure. I have all these bank accounts, and I have to, make sure there's enough money in them, or else they take them away from me. But I have to figure some stuff out, in order to do all this. So.
Does your happiness rely on the dependability or usefulness of the instruments, of the body and the mind? If someone is using a tool to do some work, and the tool is not working properly, maybe it's broken, and let's say he becomes frustrated and starts yelling at the tool, or pounding it, or whatever. You would say that it's absurd, that it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's all out of proportion. Regard the body and the mind as mere instruments, mere tools. Certainly you can see that these are things that cannot be depended on, not in the long term. The body and the senses will not always be at your disposal. Likewise, the mind or intellect. But something is invariable. The light by which you know the mind is not working or not working properly is the same light that knows when it is working well. Likewise with the body, the senses. The illuminative consciousness remains unchanged. Clearly identify yourself has that. And not with what is subject to the waves of change. Fast from misidentification. Abstain from consuming ignorance.
Yeah, that's the important part. Fasting from food is relatively easy. And actually, fasting from ignorance should even be easier.
There's no nourishment in it. It doesn't taste good.
Yeah, it doesn't taste good at all. It's like serving up a bad tasting burned meal. It's the opposite of nourishment.
There's no difficulty in overcoming ignorance, but your inquiry has to be deep and has to be thorough. But ignorance is insubstantial.
And thorough is, you say thorough.
To verify throughout the entirety of your experience the truth of what you're inquiring into. So that root concepts and the tendencies coming from them are both eliminated. Or you may think of it, rather than fasting from ignorance, just stop fasting from bliss.
Yeah, that's... yeah.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om. That Supreme Brahman is infinite, and this conditioned Brahman is infinite. The infinite proceeds from the infinite. Taking the infinite of the infinite, it remains as the infinite alone. Om, peace, peace, peace.
Om Ishavatyamidagam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita ma kritaskasya siddhanam.
Om, all this, whatsoever moves on the earth, should be covered by the Lord. Protect yourself through that detachment. Do not covet anybody's wealth.
Ane jade kammanaso javi yo naina deva apnuvan purvamarchat tadha vatonyanyane titishtasmin napo maatarishva adadadi.
It is unmoving, one, and faster than the mind. The senses could not overtake it, since it ran ahead. Remaining stationary, it outruns all other runners. It being there, Matarishva allots all activities.
Tade jati tanne jati taddure tadva antike tadantarasya sarvasya tadusarvasyasya bahyataha.
That moves, that does not move, that is far off, that is very near, that is inside all, and that is outside all.
Yastu sarva ani bhutanyatmanyeva nupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate yasmin sarvani bhutanyatmeva bhutvijanataha tatra ko mohakashoka ekatvamanupashyataha.
He who sees all beings in the very self, and the self in all beings, feels no hatred by virtue of that realization.
Yasmin sarva ani bhutanyatmaiva nubhutvijanataha tatra ko mohakashoka ekatvamanupashyataha.
When to the man of realization all beings become the very self, then what delusion and what sorrow can there be for that seer of oneness?
Sapadyaka chukramaka yammavranam asma virakam shuddham apavidham kavirmanishi paribhu swayambhur yatha tatyato arthan vyatadha chashvadibhyah samaabhyah.
He is all pervasive, pure, bodiless, without wound, without sinews, taintless, untouched by sin, omniscient, ruler of mind, transcendent, and self-existent. He has duly allotted the respective duties to the eternal years, to the eternal creators called by that name.
chapter 20, verse 1. பரஸ்வரூப நிச்சயத்தார் பரமுக்தி உரைக்கும் அத்தியாயம். சகலவித உலகத்தும் சார்வதற்கு சாலவுமே அரிதான நிர்ணயத்தை மிகவரிதாம் பரஞானம் உரைக்கும் வண்ணம் மீளவுமே நிதகனின கருள கேளாய். இக பரமாயிலங்கியவின் நாமரூபம் எல்லாமும் எப்போதும் பிரம்மரூபம். அகில பரிபூரணமாய கண்டமான அப்ரம்மம் அகிலர்க்கும் ஆன்மரூபம். நான் பிரம்ம நீ பிரம்ம நானாவாக நாடியிடும் உலகமெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். தான் பிரம்மம் தமர் பிரம்மம் தனக்கு வேறாய் தங்கியிடும் ஜனங்களெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். கோன் பிரம்மம் குரு பிரம்மம் குருதி கண்ட கூறுபடும் பொருளெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். கான் பிரம்மம் கிரி பிரம்மம் காணா நின்ற காரிய காரணமெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். அத்வைத பூரணமாம் பிரம்மத்துக்கிங்கு அந்நியமாய் அணுவேனும் இலவே இல்லை. விஸ்தரமாய் காண்பதெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். விபுவான பிரம்மமதே ஆன்மரூபம். புத்திரனே ஆதலினால் என்றும் எல்லாம் பூரணமாம் பரபிரம்ம ரூபம் என்று நித்தியமாம் அப்ரம்ம நானே என்று நிശ്ചலமாம் உறுதியினான் முக்தனாவாய். உத்தமமாம் வேதமெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். உபனிஷதம் யாவையுமே பிரம்மரூபம். விஸ்தரமாம் காலமெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். விதம் விதமாய் தேசமெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். சித்திரமாம் வஸ்துவெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். சிஜ்ஜடமாய் தெரிவதெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். சத்தியமாம் அப்ரம்ம நானே என்னும் சலனமிலா உறுதியினால் முக்தனாவாய். ஹரஹரியும் மயனருவும் பிரம்மரூபம். அமரர் நரர் திரியக்கும் பிரம்மரூபம். விர உமையும் பரசிவனும் பிரம்மரூபம். விநாயகனும் வேலவனும் பிரம்மரூபம். பரமசிவ கணமவையும் பிரம்மரூபம். பரஜீவ ஜகங்களெல்லாம் பிரம்மரூபம். நிர்மலமாம் அப்ரம்ம நானே என்னும் நிശ്ചலமாயுறுதியினான் முக்தனாவாய். பிரணவமாம் மந்திரமும் பிரம்மரூபம். விண்ணுமுள மந்திரமும் பிரம்மரூபம். பரவிய பஞ்சாட்சரமும் பிரம்மரூபம். பக்தியுடன் நஞ்சபமும் பிரம்மரூபம். புரைமருவாரேச்சகமும் பிரம்மரூபம். பூரகமும் கும்பகமும் பிரம்மரூபம். சர்வமுமாம் அப்ரம்ம நானே என்னும் சலனமிலா உறுதியினான் முக்தனாவாய். அஞ்சனமாம் அஜ்ஞானம் பிரம்மரூபம். அகங்கார முதலியதும் பிரம்மரூபம். பஞ்சமகாபூதமுமே பிரம்மரூபம். பலவிதமாம் பௌதிகமும் பிரம்மரூபம். மிஞ்சியுள்ள பொருளெவையும் பிரம்மரூபம். மெய் போன்ற துவைத்தமெல்லாம் பிரம்ம ரூபம். சஞ்சலமில்ல பிரம்ம நானே என்னும் சலியாத உறுதியினான் முக்தனாவாய். பேதமென தோற்றிய வித்வைத்தமெல்லாம் பின்னமிலா அத்வைத பிரம்மம் என்றே ஓதியவின் நிச்சயமிங்குரமாயுன்றோன் உடனிந்த பவபாசம் முக்தனாவன். பேதமுறும் மாமூடர் ஒரு காலத்தும் பின்னமிலா அகண்டபர முக்தி மேவார். ஏதுமிதில் ஐயமில்லை எவையும் மோர்ந்த யமதீசன் எம்பியதில் ஐயமுண்டோ. அற்பமுமே அறியாத சலியா மூட அத்வைதம் மாதரியார் வரும் பொய்யான கல்பிதமாம் துவைத்தமதே உண்மை என்றும் கதறுவரும் மாமூடருடனே என்றும். அற்பமுமே பேசவோனா தன்னோருக்கோர் அணுவேனும் அழிக்கவோனா தவறை கண்டால். சொற்பமுமே வணங்கவோனாதவரெப்போதும் சுத்த மகாமூடரென உணர வேண்டும். கல்பிதமாம் துவைத்தமிதே உண்மை என்றும் கதறியிடும் கயர்வர்களை கண்ட போதும். அற்பமிலா அத்வைத்தம் அறிந்த தீரர் அக்கவைவர் ஒரு காலம் இல்லை என்றும். பற்பலவாய் பார்க்கின்ற துவைத்தமெல்லாம் பரமசிதா காய பர பிரம்மம் என்றும். தற்பிரம்மம் தாமென்றும் உறுதி கொண்டே தமது நிலை தவிராமல் இருக்க வேண்டும். சர்வமுமே சின்மாத்திரம் ஆதலாலும் சர்வமுமே சுகமாத்திரம் ஆதலாலும் இருமையெனும் துவைத்தம் ஒரு காலும் இல்லை. இத்வைத்தவாதிகளும் என்றும் இல்லை. ஒரு வடிவாய் நமக்கையிலே இலாமையாலே ஒரு காலம் ஒரு பயமும் இல்லை என்றே தரளமிலா அத்வைத உறுதி கொண்டே தமது நிலை தவிராமல் இருக்க வேண்டும். சத்தியஜித் சுககணமாம் பிரம்மமல்லால் ஜகமுதலாம் துவைத்தம் ஒரு காலும் இல்லை. சித்திரமாய் தோற்றிய வித்வைத்தமெல்லாம் சின்மயமாம் பரபிரம்ம ஸ்வரூபமேயாம். புத்திரனே பூரணமாம் சிவன் தன்னானே புகன்றதிலோர் ஐயமில்லை ஆதலாலே. அத்வைத நிச்சயமே அடைந்தவற்றால் அகண்ட பர வடிவாகி முக்தனாவாய். பல கால வாசனையால் துவைத்தம் தானே பரமார்த்தம் என்று நிலை முதித்த போதும் தொலையாத துவைத்த வடிவாக தானே துவைதத்தை நிலையாமல் அவற்றையெல்லாம் அலையாத அதிஷ்டான அறிவாய் நின்ற அத்வைத்தமான பர வடிவேயாக சலியாமல் எப்போதும் நினைத்தேயத்தார் சத்திய சித் சுக வடிவாய் முக்தனாவாய். அலைமனது முதலியதற்கதீதமாகி அகங்கார முதலியதற்கதீதமாகி நிலை மறுவா காலத்துக்கதீதமாகி நிகில ஜக ஜீவர்க்கும் அதீதமாகி இலகுமறை இற்றுக்கும் அதீதமாகி இத்வைத்தம் யாவுக்கும் அதீதமான சலனமிலா பரவடிவே அனைத்தும் என்றும் சந்ததமும் நினைத்ததனான் முக்தனாவாய். சதானந்தமயமான பிரம்ம நானே சன்மாத்திரமான பர பிரம்ம நானே சிதானந்தமயமான பிரம்ம நானே, சின்மாத்திரமான பர பிரம்ம நானே. உதார பரிபூரணமாம் எனக்கு வேறாய் ஓரணுவும் துவைத்தமொரு காலும் இல்லை. சதாவும் எல்லாம் பரமான நானே என்று சலியாத பாவித்து முக்தனாவாய். சுத்த பரமானந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே, சூன்ய ஆனந்த பரஸ்வரூப நானே. நித்த பரமானந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே, நிஜானந்தமான பரஸ்வரூப நானே. அத்வைத ஆனந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே, அகண்ட பரமானந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே. இத்வைதம் அணுவேனும் எனக்கு வேறாய் இல்லையெனவே பாவித்து முக்தனாவாய். புத்த பரமானந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே, பூரண ஆனந்த பரஸ்வரூப நானே. முக்த பரமானந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே, மோன மகானந்த பரஸ்வரூப நானே. சத்திய ஞானானந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே, சாந்த பரமானந்த ஸ்வரூப நானே. இத்வைதம் அணுவேனும் எனக்கு வேறாய் இளையனவே பாவித்து முக்தனாவாய். அத்வைத வடிவான எனக்கு வேறாய் அணுவுமில்லை அகண்ட பர நானே என்றும். இத்திரமா நிச்சயமே செய்த போதும் இணையற்ற பிரம்ம சுகம் இசைவாய் இங்கே. புத்திரனே திருடமான நிச்சயந்தான் பூரணமான் ஞானத்துக்கு இலக்கணங்கான். அத்திரமாம் நிச்சயமே அகண்ட முக்தி அடைந்த பயம் ஆகுவதற்கேதுவாமால். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனதின் சங்கையெல்லாம் அடைவாய் நீங்கும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நின்னிடையே சாந்தி மேவும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நிர்மலமாய் நிறைந்து நிற்கும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நிரதிசயானந்த சாரும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது துவைத்தமெல்லாம் இழந்ததாகும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனதின் அத்வைத்தம் அடைந்ததாகும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது ஜீவத்வம் இறந்ததாகும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நிறைந்த பர பிரம்மமாமே. நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நிகரற்ற தீரஞ்சாரும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நிரதிசய திருப்தி மேவும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நித்திய மங்களமேயாகும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நிஜ வடிவின் நிலைத்ததாமே. நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நினைவையும் மறந்ததாகும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது பயமெவையும் இறந்ததாகும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனதிங்க பயபதம் சரிந்ததாகும். நிச்சயமே திருடமாக செய்ய செய்ய நின் மனது நின் சகஜ ஸ்வரூபமாமே. மனது சதா நின் சகஜ ஸ்வரூபமானான் மற்றதுதான் மீளாது மாய்ந்து போகும். மனதுடைய மீளாத மாய்வுதானே மகத்தான மோட்ச நிலை அதனான் மைந்தா. மனததனை மீளாது மாய்க்க வேண்டி மகத்தான பரபிரம்ம நிச்சயத்தை மனதொருமையுடன் செய்து மனத்தை மாய்த்து மகத்தான முக்தி நிலை மருவி நிற்பாய். அகண்ட பர பிரம்மத்து கயலே இல்லை அகிலமுமா அகண்ட பர பிரம்மம் என்றும். அகண்ட பர பிரம்மமது அகமே என்றும் அகமந்த அகண்ட பர பிரம்மம் என்றும். அகண்ட பர பாவனையே திருடமாய் செய்து அயலணுவும் தோன்றாமல் அழிந்த பின்ப அகண்ட பர பாவனையும் செய்யாது தள்ளி ஆனந்த வடிவாக அமர்ந்து நிற்பாய். உன்னிய அவ்வானந்த வடிவும் தள்ளி உரமாக ஒரு வடிவே ஆகி நிற்பாய். அந்நியமில் ஒரு வடிவன் பதையும் தள்ளி அதன் பின்பு நிர்குணமே ஆகி நிற்பாய். அந்நியவின் நிர்குணமென் பதையும் தள்ளி மனவாக்கு கெட்டாத வடிவாய் நிற்பாய். அன்னதையும் தள்ளிய பின்பறிவு மாத்திரம் ஆயதையும் அழிந்தான்ம மாத்திரம் ஆவாய்.